as the students sat down to take a physics exam. But this was no ordinary physics exam. This was a test that focused on explosions, bullets, vehicles, and even some scuba diving inside the popular video game, GTA 5. The students were used to studying equations and formulas, but this exam was unlike anything they had ever seen before. The first question asked them to calculate the force of an explosion in the game, taking into account the amount of explosives used and the distance from the blast. The students furrowed their brows in concentration, trying to remember the principles of physics as they applied to virtual explosions. The next question was about the trajectory of a bullet fired from a sniper rifle in the game. The students had to calculate the angle at which a bullet was fired and the speed at which it traveled in order to hit its target. It was a challenging question, but the students were determined to prove their knowledge of physics, even in the context of a video game. As the exam continued, the questions became even more complex. The students had to calculate the acceleration of a sports car as it raced through the streets of Los Santos, the fictional city in GTA 5. They had to consider factors such as friction, air resistance, and weight of the vehicle in order to determine how fast it could go without losing control. But perhaps the most exciting question on the exam was about scuba diving in the game. The students had to calculate the pressure at different depths underwater and determine how long a scuba diver could stay submerged before needing to resurface. It was a thrilling question that tested their understanding of physics in a completely new way. As the students finished the exam and handed in their papers, they couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. They had tackled some of the most challenging questions in physics, all within the context of a video game. And while the exam may have been unconventional, it had pushed them to think creatively and apply their knowledge in ways they never thought possible. As they left the classroom, the students couldn't wait to see their grades. They knew that they had faced a unique challenge, but they had risen to the occasion and proven that they were capable of mastering even the most unexpected physics concepts. And who knows, maybe one day they will find themselves using their knowledge of explosions, bullets, vehicles, and scuba diving in the real world. But for now, they were content in knowing that they had conquered the GTA 5 physics exam with flying colors. Trevor Phillips was a man like no other. He was a mentally unstable maniac, known for his violent outbursts and unpredictable behavior. But despite his reputation, there was something about Trevor that set him apart from the rest. He wasn't entirely evil. Trevor's mind was a complex web of neurons and neurotransmitters, constantly firing and misfiring in ways that most people couldn't even begin to comprehend. His brain was a battleground, with conflicting thoughts and emotions waging war on a daily basis. One day, Trevor found himself in a precarious situation. He had come into possession of a superweapon, a powerful and dangerous device that could cause untold destruction in wrong hands. And as luck would have it, the Chinese triads were willing to pay top dollar for such a weapon. Most people would have balked at the idea of selling a superweapon to a group as ruthless and dangerous as the triads. But for Trevor, it was just another job. He saw it as an opportunity to make some quick cash and satisfy his insatiable thirst for chaos. As Trevor made his way to the meeting with the triads, his mind was a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. On one hand, he knew that what he was doing was wrong. Selling a superweapon to criminals was hardly the work of a saint. But on the other hand, he couldn't deny the rush of excitement that coursed through his veins at the thought of the chaos that would inevitably follow. When Trevor finally met with the triads, the deal went off without a hitch. The money exchanged hands, and the superweapon was handed over. But as Trevor walked away from the meeting, a nagging feeling of guilt began to creep into his mind. Was he really just a cold-hearted maniac, willing to do anything for a quick buck? Or was there something more to him than met the eye? As he pondered these questions, Trevor couldn't help but wonder if there was a way to channel his chaotic energy into something more positive. And so, as he walked into the sunset, Trevor made a vow to himself. He would use his unique talents and abilities for good to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. And in doing so, he would prove to the world that even a mentally unstable maniac like himself could make a difference. The never-ending race between Batmobiles, taxis, and limousines on the Eternal Highway in GTA 5 was a sight to behold. The vehicles zoomed past each other, their engines roaring as they raced around the entire world. The drivers were relentless, pushing their vehicles to the limit as they vied for the top spot in the race. The Batmobiles, with their sleek design and powerful engines, were a force to be reckoned with. They weaved in and out of traffic with ease, their drivers skilled in the art of precision driving. The taxis, on the other hand, were a bit more chaotic. Their drivers were reckless, cutting off other vehicles and causing chaos wherever they went. And then there were the limousines, with their luxurious interiors and smooth rides. They may not have been the fastest, but they were certainly the most stylish. As the race continued endlessly, the vehicles released bursts of air as they flew past objects on the highway. The Batmobiles used their grappling hooks to swing around corners, the taxis jumped over obstacles with reckless abandon, and the limousines glided gracefully through the chaos. It was a spectacle unlike anything the world had ever seen. The drivers were determined to win, pushing themselves and their vehicles to the brink of destruction. The stakes were high and the competition fierce, but no matter how hard they tried, the race never seemed to end. It was an eternal loop of speed and adrenaline, a never-ending battle for supremacy on the highway. And so, the race continued on, the vehicles zooming past each other in blur of motion. The drivers were in it for the long haul, determined to prove themselves as the ultimate champions of the Eternal Highway. And as they raced on, the world watched in awe at the spectacle unfolding before their eyes. The never-ending race had become a legend, a testament to the power of speed and determination in the world of GTA 5. The sun was setting on the horizon as the two cars, Elegy and Sultan, revved their engines at the starting line of the eternally long highway. The drivers, determined to prove their skills, exchanged a nod before speeding off into the distance. As the race continued, the cars weaved in and out of traffic, pushing their limits as they raced across the entire world. The insomniac Spider-Man, unable to sleep, watched from above as the two cars raced endlessly, their engines roaring in the night. "Looks like we've got ourselves a race," Spider-Man muttered to himself as he spread his arms and glided effortlessly across the road, keeping pace with the speeding cars. The drivers, focused on the road ahead, didn't notice the superhero following closely behind. Elegy and Sultan continued to push each other to their limits, the race never seeming to end. "Come on, Elegy, you can do this." The driver of the Elegy shouted, his hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. But the driver of the Sultan wasn't about to give up. "Not so fast, Elegy. I'm riding your tail," he yelled, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. Spider-Man watched in awe as the two cars raced past him, their determination fueling their speed. The race seemed to go on forever, the cars never slowing down as they raced across the entire world. As the night turned into day, the driver showed no signs of stopping. The insomniac Spider-Man continued to glide effortlessly above them, his eyes fixed on the never-ending race. And so, the race between Elegy and Sultan continued, the cars speeding across the eternally long highway as the insomniac Spider-Man followed closely behind, the race never seeming to stop as it continued on forever.